Hello students, we are coming back again to this new day and we'll have a new class and probably we will conclude this lesson today. We are talking about the public facilities, and out of these public facilities we have chosen one of the most important requirement for sustaining human life, that is water, availability of water. And we saw that government was not able to supply in most of the places to meet the needs of the people. But at the same time we saw some countries are running very well the public facility system, especially the water supply. They are doing very well so that the people are able to get very clean and safe drinking water. Though they are very poor, they are very well advanced, we can say, in this distribution or supply of water, and that makes their health better and they are able to prevent the child death rate and so on. And let us see some of the other alternatives that people are suggesting in order to make an efficient water supply system. And we saw yesterday two places, 2 points, that how the government is able to do or how much private is able to do and so on. Today let us see another point. You can take your textbook page number 115, and we will see the third point today. So the third point speaks about the example of some countries where the water supply in charge has been handed over to private companies, and they saw that the price of water has been raised very steeply. The price of the water went very high and making it unaffordable for the poor people. So most of these essential things are supplied by the government so that it will be made at a cheaper rate available, so that even the poor people will be able to afford to get it. But if you give it to a private company, they will never bother whether the people are poor or not, the customers are poor or not, because the intention of the private company is to not to serve the people but to make profit. But the intention of the government should be just the opposite. They don't care for the profit, but they care for serving the people. That is their main intention, to serve the people. But when private company, when they do it, whether it is essential commodity or not, whether it is water or not, food or not, whatever they do, they will provide the service, but at the same time they will charge very high, and therefore the poor people will not be able to afford to get into it or get the service from the private companies. That is the one problem that we face. So cities saw huge protests. So when the water supply is given to the private companies, in the city also there are poor people living. Yesterday we saw that people who are living in the slums, they are very poor. That's why they have chosen to live in the slum, because they cannot afford to live in the good house. So those people, they began to protest because they don't have enough money to buy this costly water. And even huge protests were there, riots were there, and breaking out places like Bolivia, some countries like in Bolivia, when the water supply department was entrusted with private, people protested so much of violence was there. And by seeing this much of protest from the people, what the government did was, they rolled back their decision. They decided, we will not give water supply in charge to private companies, we will do it by ourselves. That way the protest ended. So That is a case where private companies were rejected by the people because of their too much demand from the people, demand for high price. So government decided that was a failure. Then let us come to India. Point number 4. In India, what is the situation? How do the Indian government manage the situation? So in India, there are cases of success in government water department, though these are few in number and limited to certain areas of their work. So if you check the different areas of India to see how the water supply is carried out, we will realize that there is success in certain places, certain states, certain cities. It is very successful. Government is able to supply water to the people. But we saw the case of Chennai, that the rich people, they are able to get access to government supply. But the poor people and the middle class people, they were finding it difficult. And the water supply department in Mumbai raises enough money through water charges to cover the expenses of supplying water. So if you take the example of Mumbai, the water supply department, they'll supply water to the people and they will collect water charge from every household. So with that money they manage to meet the expenses, to pay the salary to the staff and so on. So they are able to manage in that way. So they don't collect too much money from the people, not for profit, but just for managing. So that way people may be able to pay because the price is not very high. And if you go to Hyderabad, a recent report shows that department has increased coverage and improved performance in revenue collection. So if you go to Hyderabad, we find that government has increased the area, the coverage. So they are able to increase the water supply to more and more houses. They are able to reach out to more and more houses, and then they get more revenue, more income. So if more people are able to get water supply, then they all will pay the water charge, though it is not very high, but it is paid. And therefore the income increases, and that income can be used for appointing more staffs or for improving the facilities and so on. So Hyderabad government also is doing very well. Now if you come to Chennai we had already seen earlier, and let's see what is the present situation. In Chennai, the department has taken several initiatives for harvesting rainwater to increase level of groundwater. So the Chennai government is doing something else. They are encouraging the people to do the water harvesting from the roof, and that water should be harvested, it should be stored in the well or in the underground tanks and so on. So when this rainwater, if you don't collect it, what happens? It just flows away, and finally it will reach to the river and then reach to the sea, ocean and so on. But if you collect this water and direct it into the tanks or into the ponds or into the well, then that water will be sinking down to the earth, and the ground level water will increase. And if the ground level water is increasing, then people will be able to draw water from their own well. All the wells will have water, it will not dry up. So that is the initiative Chennai is doing. And it also used the services of private companies for transporting and distributing water, but the government water supply department decides the rate of water tankers and gives them permission to operate. So we saw in Chennai, the government department is able to serve only half of the people, and therefore they are calling the service, the help of the private companies as well. But government is controlling them. Government say, we will fix the rate. How much money you have to collect from the people, we will decide. You cannot collect as much as you want to increase your profit. So you have to obey what we say. So in that way, private companies are under the control of the government. Therefore, they cannot simply cheat the people or collect too much money from the people. That way, government in Chennai is controlling the private companies. Though they are calling them for help, they are controlling them, and hence they are called on contract. So that service, the private companies are extending their service to help the government to supply water. That is called on contract. They are agreeing or entering into a contract with the government, an agreement with the government, and how much money will be paid, and so everything is agreed. They cannot go on change it. They cannot go on collect whatever they want. It is fixed by the government, and if they break that government law, then their service will be discontinued. They will not be allowed to do water supply anymore. So these are the 4 examples that different governments are trying in different way in order to enhance the availability of water, safe drinking water to the people. And let us also see the next page where there is it is given in color. It is talking about the quality of the water, what type of water we must have. So it says, besides safe drinking water, sanitation is a must in prevention of waterborne diseases. So we have water, just say that we have achieved the good and safe drinking water, and then connected to that also is another important thing is sanitation. We must have our surroundings clean, and that is very important. Otherwise what will happen, especially the toilets, the urinals, all these are in the open place, means what will happen, all this dirt, all this waste will flow into the rivers, and it will leak slowly into our drinking water sources, and the water gets polluted, and people who drink that water will get sick. So it is very important that we need to have this sanitation facilities. We must have proper place for toilets, urinals, and so on. Otherwise we ourselves will be the sufferers. So the sanitation coverage in India is even lower than that of water. So the availability of water in India is not 100% perfect. It is low, but the level of sanitation is much more lower than the people who have got water connection, water availability. And the figures say, if you check the account or data, we will find that in 2001, 68% of the households had drinking water. So according to the data available in 2001, that means it is more than 10 years old, and in that year 68% of the people had safe drinking water. But the sanitation availability or sanitation facility was only for 36%. So only 36% of people in India had proper toilets, urinals, and so on. All others were doing it in the open ground and polluting the water, polluting the atmosphere, and people getting sick because of all that. So it is very pathetic condition it was in 2001. Then once again it is poor in both in rural and urban areas who lack access to sanitation. So most of the people who do not have these sanitation facilities, they are the poor people in the urban area or in the rural area. It is the poor people who are suffering. It is the poor people who do not have enough sanitation facilities, and therefore an organization called SULAF, organization name is SULAF. It is a NGO, non-governmental organization. So they came forward to help the people to set up toilets so that the sanitation facilities can increase. So what did this Sulaf say do? So Sulaf has been working for 3 decades to address the problem of sanitation facing low-caste, low-income people in India. So people who are in India, people who belong to low caste and people who belong to low income, poor people. So in order to help them to set up toilets, proper toilets and so on, this organization called Sulaf, they have been working for 30 years. So not 1 or 2 years, for 30 years they have been working. And it has constructed more than 7,500 public toilets. So they constructed, during these 30 years, they constructed 7,500 toilets for the people and 1.2 million private toilets. So 7,500 public toilets, that is in the public places like bus stands and schools or other public places where people gather for them to use, that is public toilet. And in the people's houses also, private houses also, they made toilet and gave 1.2 million private toilets they provided to the people in India. And giving access to sanitation to 10 million people. So by their work, by their construction of these toilets, 10 million people are able to have safe toilets or sanitized toilets in their houses or in their public places. So they have done a very great charity to the people of India by providing these facilities, especially these sanitation facilities. And Sulaf enters into contracts with municipalities or other local authorities to construct toilet blocks with the government funds. So how does this organization functioning? They will make agreement with local government, maybe with municipalities, other panchayats and so on. So the fund is available with the government, the municipality, in the panchayat and so on. So this Sulaf will make a contract with the government. You give us the fund and we will make sure that the toilet is constructed properly. Very often what happens is the funds are given to the contractors and they somehow do some very improper way of building, and after some time it becomes unusable and it becomes a waste later. But this Sulaf, they take up responsibility in performing this or building or constructing these toilets with the help of government funds. So they don't misuse the fund, they don't steal the fund, but they make use the maximum for the people. And local authorities provide land and funds for setting up the services, whereas maintenance costs are sometimes financed through user charges. For example, ₹1 is charged for use of the latrine in the cities and so on. So with the government will provide the fund and government also will give the land and these people will construct it. And in order to maintain, we need some money. After some time we need to clean it, we need to paint it, we need to wash it, clean it, all that. So some money is required every day in order to do the cleaning. Therefore they charge some money, people who use public toilets. Maybe if you use a toilet one time, you have to give ₹1 or ₹2 or ₹5. So depends on the expense that is they incurring in order to carry it out. So that way this Sulaf, he has done a very good job, we can say, in order to make our cities clean. Because people who go to city and so, they will be searching and searching for places for toilet, but they don't find. But now if you go, you will find in most of the places there are toilets available because of this organization like Sulaf and other organizations are there. They are constructing it and making it available to the people. And that is the importance of the sanitation as well. So if you want to have good, safe, clean drinking water, it is a must that we must also have the sanitation. Otherwise, we will be dirtying our places, dirtying our water sources and so on. And so if you can imagine in the public places where there are no proper sanitation facilities, toilets and other, how much people will be suffering, how much people will be struggling in order to go for their needs and so on. So government has to make sure it is all settled or set up in the different places, where especially in the public places, so that people will not be struggling. They will be able to carry on their life comfortably. So government has to make sure. There are many organizations are also willing to help, willing to cooperate with the government, and they are also interested in the development of the people, development of our country as such. So that is the end of this lesson, and we shall just conclude whatever we have been saying so far, and we shall just conclude in few words. So we say public facilities. We said there are so many public facilities like right in the food, water, house, clothes, sanitization. All these are public facilities that are required for the people, and it is guaranteed in the Constitution. It comes under right to life. Therefore, everyone who wants to exercise their right to life, they should make sure that all these facilities are available. Otherwise, we can say they are not living their their life properly. So it is the duty of the government to provide, and government, when it is not able to do, they can also call the help of private people, private companies, and with their help they will be able to carry it out. And in that process, what we said, the sanitation also is important, to keep the cities clean, to help the people to go for their needs and so on. So where there are proper places are there, it will be nice, it will be easy, it will help our city to be clean and so on. So that way we come to the end of this lesson number 9, and I hope you have understood. If you have any doubt, you are free to write in the comment box and let me know, so that we will be able to clarify your doubts, your problems and so on. So no need to feel shy. You can freely express your feelings, your doubts. You can ask for any clarification, and we will be ready to help you at all. So don't worry, you read your lessons nicely, and in case you find any doubts or anything, just let me know. I will be able to help you. So we wind up for today, and in the next class we shall study about a new chapter, the chapter 10, where we will be studying about the law, the justice and so on, how it is practiced in our country. So thank you for listening. Have a nice day.